Hey, everybody, this is Bill Engvall, and you're listening to my favorite podcast, The Whole Podcast. Let me tell you something. If you're not listening to this, here's your sign.
Welcome to The Whole. I am Rob Sprans.
And I'm Lori Levine.
Our guest with us today has done pretty much everything. Bill, stand-up, acting, books. I wrote them down. That's how many. Podcasts, records, Grammy nominations, music videos. And now he's hosting a new show called Blue Collar Auction as well. Bill Engvall is with us. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Lori. It's great
Hi.
to be here. By the way, we should clarify something. When you hear the term Grammy nominated, that's just a really nice way of saying you didn't win.
You got to roll with it, though.
It looks good on paper. But yeah, you know, it's weird, Rob. When I think back over the 42 years I've been doing this, when I started, if you'd have listed all that stuff, I'd have said you were smoking pot, because it was just, I was just a comic. I just wanted to be a comic and, you know, and be the best I could. But I didn't see all this other stuff coming my way. And it's just been, I know this gets overused, but it's just truly been a blessed journey for me.
Sure. But you know what? A lot of people don't even say that. You know, there are people that we have on that we mention that to, and they don't necessarily feel that way. So it's a good outlook. But, you know, when I got, you know, when we were speaking to your publicist, one of the things that they said was, and I'm very upset about this, and we're going to try to talk you out of this, but they said that you are about to do a farewell tour. Now, I know it's not a farewell to Bill, but it's a farewell to you touring stand-up. And
yeah, you know, I've been doing this for 42 years, and I've just, I always said that I wanted to go out on my own terms. And you know, I never want to be that act that you go see, you know, and we've all seen shows like this where you go, they should have quit last year, you know. And the thing is, the retirement is just literally from the road. The traveling it just takes years off your life. And, you know, I would be frightened to know how many miles I've flown and how many shows I've done. And I've had a blast doing it, but I got a granddaughter now, and it's time for me to start spending time with them and with my wife, who, bless her heart, is, you know, for 41 of these years, she never once said, "Why do you got to go?" You know, I need you here. And I'm sure she thought it, yeah. But to her credit, she never once said it. And I said, you know what, I owe her a whole bunch, so I want to be able to do things with her. And like I said before, it's you know, I'm not lying. I'm a little sad about it, but I also know it's the right thing to do.
And I was reading something where you said that you used to spend like a few days preparing to go on tour, packing, and now it's like minutes before you're getting your bag together.
That's exactly right, Lori. You know, and the thing was, before, you know, the show was here and traveling was here. Now it's kind of, you know, it's like, what happened, I tell you, when the decision, because I had been thinking about it for a few years, you know, just kind of lightly thinking about it. But when COVID hit, I found myself not missing traveling, you know, not missing the grind of being a comedian, which, you know, a lot of people don't understand. They see you on stage for an hour and a half, and they think, "Yeah, what a great job you got." And what they don't see is the 22 and a half hours where you're sitting in a Holiday Inn watching TV. You know what? You know, it's when you know what's on the room service menu before you even look.
It's not good.
It's time.
It makes sense. Like, you know, I'm friends with a lot of comics who tour, and, you know, I won't name drop, but I am, and they all have a very similar outlook to that, and that's the part that they don't like the most. However, I do think, though, I mean, even the title of it is "Here's Your Sign, It's Finally Time." So first of all, I want to know what the sign was. Did you actually have any given sign, like where you're like
the pandemic?
Yeah.
The pandemic was the sign.
Yeah, well, that's a hell of a sign.
There was little signs all along the way, you know, but you kind of just looked at them and then moved on. I think probably, and I don't want to get maudlin here, but I told my wife all the time, I go, my greatest fear is dying on the road, you know, where you're in some crappy hotel and, you know, it's like, and I'm 64, going to be 65 soon.
You're young.
I'm at that age, you know, where, you know, it used to be when you're young, you got a little ache or pain, you just blew it off, but now you better go check it out. You know? But you know, and the other thing is, I really want to concentrate on acting. I just love acting. I mean, I didn't know really or appreciate acting for a long time until I started getting some roles that were, you know, a little bit bigger than Man on the Street or comic, you know. And I love crawling into the skin of a character and bringing it to life. And so that's kind of where I'm focusing right now. You know, listen, and by the way, the retirement tour is probably going to go through November of 22, because right now we're just kind of we're putting dates back that we had to cancel because of COVID. But starting, I think it's January 1, that'll be the real leg of the retirement tour. And you know, it's Rob, as you know, if you comics, you know, when I first started in this business, man, I had a well of material and I had that pointy shovel and I was just slinging bits everywhere. And after 42 years, I've kind of got that square shovel and kind of scraping the bottom going, hey, that could be funny if I really worked at it. You know?
I absolutely get that. You know, with this, you know, this show's we've been doing this for 12 years now. And it wasn't always this format. It used to be us getting together and just, you know, talking and having fun, and, you know, but you know, when we kind of rebooted it this way, that's one of the things I said is it's been 300 episodes. What are we going to talk about that we haven't already?
Right.
You know, so I do get that. But at the same token, like, why not? Like, there's two touring announcement types that you can do. You can be a Rolling Stones or you can be a Kiss. The Rolling Stones never say they're not touring anymore, but they just all of a sudden just don't tour for 5-6 years, and then if they decide to, they do. If not, tough. Kiss, however, has a farewell tour every other year.
Yeah.
7. And that's not even a joke. So, you know, I do respect, and you know, the comment that you made about wanting to go out on top is great. I mean, look, I saw George Carlin at the very end, like maybe a year or so before, and he was phenomenal. But there are others that I've seen where I do understand that. I don't think you're anywhere near that point. But that's a great mindset to have. Like, you're putting your body of work ahead of, you know, the
right. Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned George, because I was always a big fan of George, and I saw him for the first time when I was like a senior in college, and he was edgy, he was funny, he was irreverent, and then I don't know if it was just this particular show, but I saw him about a year before he passed, and he just was. He wasn't George. It was a lot of griping and see, I told you, and blah blah blah. You know, it's like my buddy who took his wife to see James Taylor because she loves James Taylor, and all he did was talk about his divorce. You know, it's like, you know. So, and I think that also that, you know, sometimes we think that we don't give ourselves that finite. We think especially comics, because, you know, a band, you're dealing with other personalities and all this. You know, one of the problems with being a comedian is it's just you, and you got to be able to look in that mirror every night and go, I'm going to do this again. And I found myself being in hotel rooms, looking in the bathroom mirror, going, "Oh man, can you get through this one?" And I hated that. I hated that. But the other little sign I knew was when I was a club comic, I remember working the Improv at the Riviera in Vegas. And we did 15 or 17 shows in a week.
Jesus.
But I was young. I said, hey, whatever. Now they go, we're going to do 2 shows. I'm like, oh, God, what? In the same night?
I got a nap.
But, you know, the other thing, though, I think, and this one was the hardest for me, was I wouldn't being honest with myself. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you'd have those shows that were really rolling and the audience, but as you two both know, the world's changed now. You know, your writing process is different. You know, I look at ideas I write down, and you know, I go like what I was trying to think of one the other day that I know what it was. It was a bit I did. I said, you know, I was going out to the car because I know my wife's going to need gas in the car because she never puts gas. Which I'm lying. She knows how to pump gas. It's like, you know, and it's like, you know, you wonder, am I upsetting people? You know, some people say if you don't, you know, if you're not causing some turbulence, you're not really doing your job. But that was never my style.
No, you didn't.
And I can't go back and talk about, hey, remember when I told you my son was like 5? You know, he's 30 now. It's like,
it makes total sense, and a lot of it comes from life experience as well.
Right.
And you know, when you're, you know, in especially in the last 2 years of a bubble that we've been in, there's not really been any life experience to have other than what's happening. Right. So
that was what was funny to me was, you know, Lori, that people were saying, well, man, I bet you're writing a lot of material about COVID. And I'd be like, okay, just enlighten me. What's funny about 5 million people dying? You know, it's like, you know, you try to find something so you're relevant. But I just think that you know, listen, it's a retirement tour. And I really don't want to be one of those guys that comes back in a year and goes, hey, I know I said I was retiring, but hey, guess what? I'm back, you know. But I don't know what the next chapter in my life's going to be. And if I keep going the way I'm going, then I won't know. I won't ever find out. And, you know, like COVID, I went back to college and got my degree.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting. My first semester in college in 1975, my grade point average was 0.76.
And you're the son of a doctor, right?
I was the son of a doctor. Well, here's the problem. And then I graduated college now as a 60-year-old, and I graduated with a 3.97. Nice. And my wife said, "What do you think the big difference was?" And I said, "When you're 64, you're not drunk and horny half the time. So you got a lot more time to focus."
Oh, that's a bummer. I don't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah.
But you know, I really do actually, you know, those are great reasons, and I have tremendous respect for you wanting to go out on top. And nobody says you can't do more specials. You just don't want
right.
To
well, you know, listen,
road, you know?
I think it's the old saying. You know, I never say never. I mean, listen, I'm not an idiot. If somebody says, "Hey, Engvall, we'll throw 200 grand your way if you come do a show for us," there's probably a chance I'll dust off the old act for that. But you know,
get that shovel out.
Yeah, get that shovel out. I just right now at this juncture in my life, I just feel like there's more out there, and I want to experience it. I love traveling with my wife. We just got back from Dubai, and we're going to go to Tonga and swim with the whales. And you know, I want to be able to do those trips without saying, "Okay, but we got to be back by Wednesday because Friday I'm going to Uncle Joe's Chuckle Hut on the
right.
You know, the Choctaw Reservation."
It makes total sense. And you know, you mentioned other things on the horizon. Let's talk about what you're working on now, which is you have Blue Collar Auction, which, you know, talk about a great vehicle for you to just be funny. There are, you know, it's you know, for the ones that I've seen, first of all, the things that are up for auction are just very, very cool things. I think there's like a mandolin from Ronnie Wood from the Stones. There was, you know, Marilyn Monroe dress, I think, in one. And
yeah, it's not that blue collar though. It's like really fancy.
Well, there is, Lori. There's like we auctioned off an amphibicar. You know, there's that, but see, you bring up a great point, Lori, and that's one of the things I love about the show is it kind of covers all of that. You know, and one of the greatest things I loved about the show when it was pitched to me is, you know, when you watch shows like Antique Roadshow or even, you know, like Pawn Stars or Pickers, American Pickers, they always say, "Oh, this is worth $75 or this is worth $200,000," but you never see them sell it.
Right.
I can tell you my tickets to my show are worth $100 grand each, but if you're only willing to pay 20, guess what they're worth?
Right, exactly.
So, and you actually in our show, you actually see the product sold. So, you know what it went for. And the thing that I loved about you is I'm not up there going, "Hey, give me 50, give me 55. You know, I'm not doing that. What I do is I just interview the seller, which I love because there's some characters. And the bidders are bidding, and I'll give an update on it. And then, some people get what they want. Some people get more. Some people don't get as much as they thought. But, like I always say on the show, it doesn't matter what me or the experts say. It's what the bidders are willing to pay for.
Yeah, so very true. And I mentioned it, like there are comedians that can be funny in stand-up, but I think it's another level if you can be funny on the fly like you are.
Thank you. And
that to me is even more so a gift, and you show that a lot in the show. Like, any chance you get, I'm similar, where any chance I get to say something stupid to make somebody laugh, I'm going to take that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I always shoot for that. And
sometimes you lose your job, but that's fine.
Sometimes.
But on another note,
but the joke landed.
Yeah, I think that comes from when I was a kid. My dad was in the public health service, which is basically a government doctor. So we got moved every couple of years, and I wasn't really a jock. So to make friends, I became the funny guy, and my dad was very funny. And so, and in a natural way, not like, hey, let me tell you, it was like, it just kind of, he was one of those guys that was gifted with it, just rolled off his tongue. And I think I learned that from him, and that's kind of benefited me on shows like Blue Collar Auction, where you can, one of the things I always want to do any kind of hosting job is, and I learned this from Carson in watching him just nightly, he let the guest be the star, and he just once in a while he was beautiful at it. Yeah. He would get his jokes in, but sometimes you watch some of these talk show hosts and they're so busy trying to get the next joke in, you can look at him and go, he's not even listening to what the guy's saying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so very true. And that's the difference too with this format. That was an adjustment I had to make. Like I had to make the adjustment because before it was just us. So boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to, what's funny next? But I totally get what you're saying. And the fact that, you getting it from your dad, there is no better training for that kind of stuff than to just day to day, just have somebody make you laugh and see how they do it. But it's very cool. Like you definitely do that on this show. You have
Bill's Marilyn Monroe impression is.
Oh yes,
that was pretty spot on, wasn't it, Laura?
Oh.
I mean, my birthday's coming up, and I was like, oh, I wish I had Bill here.
It was just a seduction that you captured so
exactly,
well.
Rob.
I don't know. There's something really weird about a man in a dress sexually singing to me. Maybe some people like it. I don't know, but that was one of those things that it just happened. And the producers were like, "That was great." I'm like, I kind of looked like an idiot there. He goes, "No, I love it."
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes the dumber you look, the funnier you make things.
Yeah.
I bet the bids went up. I didn't check that actually.
Yeah. Actually, I think I said that on the show. I go, there better be some bidding going on after that.
Right? Yeah, I remember. But so let's actually. You mentioned the late night hosts and the talk shows and things like that. One of the things that again I really do respect your ability to work completely clean, which is not. I'm not saying it's not a difficult thing to do, but it actually does take more skill.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It does. And, to be able to deliver the same funny and have people laughing just as hard without having those, curse word inflections, I'm not capable of doing that. I have, outside of this show, I'm cursing way more than I should be. Well,
I'm the same way as you, Rob. Listen, I love a good dirty joke as much as the next guy, and I can tell you some that will curl your hair. But I always say it was funny because I always told it for my friend, my best friend. I said, when I do my last show, I'm going to say everything I've ever wanted to say on stage. And he goes, "No, you won't." And I go, "I know, I won't."
Hey, you never know. Well, because you'll never know when your last show is.
Right.
So yeah, it makes sense. But so, what's that experience like to do? I mean, you've had tremendous success with going all the way back to the Blue Collar tour, which at that time big arena comedy tours were very rare. I think it was you guys and Kings of Comedy.
Yeah,
I think were really the only two that were able to do that, and I mean fill arena after arena after arena. So you finally get I'm sure a chance to start working and doing these shows. Do you get nervous for things like that where you have to go out and you have to do your tight 3 minutes or whatever it is versus when you're just
on the talk shows.
Yeah. So like,
well, now the great thing is the short answer to it is when I was first doing them, yes, I would get ulcers, because it's tight. It's got to be, you got 3 minutes to get it and hit it hard and hope that it's good enough that they're going to ask you back. Now, I've kind of moved into that thing where where I'm more comfortable is just doing it from the couch, just like we're doing here. And you give them a list of subjects. Carson was the best. I mean, they told me after Mike Carson said this would be the first of many, and then that guy got fired, and that was the only one I ever did. But, I don't know if he got fired because he put me on it or what, but Leno was always great to me. I enjoyed Jimmy Fallon. I haven't done the other one.
Kimmel.
Yeah. I haven't been on that one. But also, the thing with talk shows is they're not what they used to be. Like Carson, people would just drop by. They they weren't plugging anything. It wasn't about my book or do this, and it wasn't little, I mean, what he did the great Carnegie or Carson. Yeah. And rarely was there a skit. It just seemed like all these shows now are all about skits and, it's like, I get it once in a while, but enough. I always loved watching Carson just because, like I said, you didn't know who was going to stop by, and it didn't fluster him. He just moved right into whatever was going there. I mean, you imagine having to interview Don Rickles. Come on,
I know.
You can't shut him up.
Right? You just
he's funny. Yeah, he's funny, but it's like, okay, I got to get this in. But I would love to have hosted a show. A talk show in that vein. I didn't want to do all the silly gag stuff, but nowadays, and nowadays they're all looking for the young guys, unfortunately. But it is fun to do. I love doing them. My only gripe is, but I understand it, is that you got a 7-minute spot, and and you generally, if you watch my show, 7 minutes doesn't even get us through a whole bit. I mean, it's a story. We're going to be here for a few minutes, so sit back.
Yeah, and just to be able to have had that experience to be on Johnny's show, because I do agree with you. I think he is one of the best. I think Letterman was also one of
Letterman. That was one I forgot. Letterman was great.
Yeah, but back in the day where he was much more edgy and that show was very weird when it was on CBS versus right. NBC. I think I think the biggest difference for me was, even though he didn't, Carson made you feel like he'd known you for years, like you were his buddy, as opposed to a guest. He was the king of that. Yeah, I mean, it's I can't imagine what must that.
When you got on Carson, did you just call your family and tell her, like, was this like a watch party?
Oh yeah,
for you?
yeah. I tell you, it was crazy that whole day. First of all, you jump through so many hoops just to get the gig, and then you show up. The show taped at like 4, I think. You showed up like at 2 o'clock, and I remember a guy walking me out on stage, and the studio is tiny. On TV, it looked like his massive studio. I mean, they're right on top of you. And we walked on stage. He goes, I see that star? That's Johnny's star. You don't stand there. You stand back here where it says T for talent. And they said there'll be a curtain. Johnny's curtain will come down. He'll do his monologue, and then that'll go away, and your curtain will come down. And and I was nervous as I could be.
My heart's going just thinking about it.
And thank God a friend of mine dropped by who had done the show. And he gave me the greatest advice. He said, when you walk out, he said, look at Doc, look at Ed, look at Johnny, and then do your stuff. Because a lot of comics just walk out and just start, He said, soak it in, because it literally goes by so fast. I mean, I had a 6-minute spot, and I remember starting, and then they were clapping, and that was it.
Wow. And now, is there any truth to that? There's these legendary stories about the Carson show that you didn't necessarily get booked for the chair. You got booked to do stand-up, and sometimes they would wave you over, or Johnny would wave you over. He wouldn't. Is that really true?
I was supposed to – I finished my Victoria principal. Was she the
the
comedic actress?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you
was on before me. It was either Victoria Jackson. That's who it was. She went over her segment, and they told me afterwards that Carson wanted to call me over, but they were running short on time. So I've hated her ever since.
But just that first, oh my God, just walking on that set. And for those of you who are younger who are watching this, at the time, Johnny Carson, like there were other late night shows, but that was the show. Oh
God, your parents watched it. Their parents watched it. I mean,
yep.
It was. I gotta be honest with you guys. I was so happy that I got in before he passed, because that was the goal in my. There's two goals I believe in every comic's life. One was to do the Tonight Show, and the second was to get your own sitcom. And God, for whatever reason, looked at me and said, "You're going to get it both. You're not going to get as much as you want, but you're going to get a taste of it." And so I got a taste of the forbidden fruit on and all that. And it's funny because in this business, it's so easy to get wrapped up in what you haven't done, that you sometimes forget to look back at what you did. And when I really sit down and look back at what I did, I achieved every goal I wanted that I set in front of me. And there's, if I were to stop everything tomorrow, nobody could go, "Oh, you almost made it, man." It's like,
I know, true. And you know what? Look, even in sitcoms, I mean, you have a recurring role here. Here you are as Reverend Paul in Last Man Standing. So, it's not like
that was fun. One of the funnest episodes I did. In fact, Reverend Paul was the impetus for me to go back to school and get my degree in Christian studies.
Really?
Wow.
But one of the funnest times I was on that show was me and Jay Leno was on, and with Tim, Jay, and me in between takes, it was just a joke-a-thon. Who could come up with the next joke? And Jay is the king of jokes. I don't know if people know that, but he's got a notebook full of them. Mm-hmm. And we had more fun. I don't know that the director had as much fun, but we had a blast.
Yeah, trying to wrangle you guys couldn't have been easy.
Oh, it was like wrangling cats.
But yeah, I do think it makes more sense now as you start to explain all of the things that you love doing. It starts to make sense now why it's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to tour anymore, but I'm going to do all these other things and start to dive into that a little more in the acting and everything else. So
right. Well, what I really want to do, and I say this, and I hope it doesn't come across in a weird way. I caught the brass ring, that everybody's grabbing for. I got it, and I'm not going to get any bigger on the road. And it's like, I remember telling my friend, he goes, "Why are you retiring?" I said, "I think in everybody's life, you kind of have to ask yourself the question, how much is enough?" Mm-hmm. And I have no regrets. I've got to do everything I've ever wanted to do. And I just want to be able to sit on my back porch. And actually, you know what? I'll tell you what I love is we have a ranch down in Texas where my wife and I are originally from. And in this little town, there's a feed store. And it's literally what it sounds like. People buy feed for their cows or their horses or whatever. And hooked to it is a little bar. And there's no bartender. There's just a cooler of beers. And there's a can on the bar. And you put your dollar in the can and grab a beer and go play dominoes on the front porch. And I told a friend of mine, I go, what I want out of life is that day when somebody looks at me at that bar and goes, "Hey, weren't you?" And I could say, "Yeah, yeah, I was.
I was the domino champion."
Yeah. I play a mean game of dominoes. I'll tell you that.
Well, let's first, I want to clarify one thing though. You said you lucked out and got the brass ring. You earned the brass ring.
Thank you. Well, yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
You didn't just luck out. It takes a long time. If we're just talking about stand-up alone, it takes such a long time.
And I've been such a fan of Bill's. When Rob said you were coming on, I was like, I remember you doing stand-up looking, don't take this the wrong way, but looking like middle management. You wore khakis and a tie.
Can I tell you something, Lori? whoever I worked with that week, I took on their mannerisms, the way they dress. I remember when I worked with Seinfeld the first time, by the end of the week, I was going, well, what's the deal with Sharon? You know, but thank you. That means a lot to me, Lori. I just, you know, I especially love, because you're obviously way younger than me, and that means a lot to me because, you know, I think that's sometimes an issue that comics deal with is how do you transcend generations? And that's what I tell young comics is that, you know, all people, you don't got to be the funniest person in the room. All people want to know is that you're relatable to them, that you understand their lives, and that you're clean. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves a good dirty comic. I love to. You know, I used to go watch Sam and Kinnison and watch Ron White. I will say this, and I've said it before. Of the four of us, is when he's on his A game, is the one guy I would pay for the tickets. Yeah. But you know, I think there used to be an old phrase, and Rob, you may be familiar. A lot of comics want to be a comics comic. They're playing to the guys in the back of the room, yep. Which is great. But let me tell you something: they don't pay your bills, and you know they're going to go their own way. And so I've always just said, all I want to do, I just wanted to be your next door neighbor. You know, that's just that funny guy, yeah. and it transcended into my show.
Yeah, and I have the word written down here on this piece of paper, the word storyteller, because that's kind of, I almost see you more as a comedic storyteller than just.
I agree. I agree with that.
You know, it's like you'll come out and you'll just share experiences and make them funny where you can and everything else. But I think that's what makes people relate to you so much more. And almost like I'm sure you hear it all the time, you know, I feel like I know you, Bill, you know, because you share right. Your own, whether they're.
Well, you know, I always said that we all do the same stuff. It's just different accents, you know. And that's like when people ask, they go, do you change your show when you go to Boston or do you change your show when you go to LA? And I go, no, because everybody does the same thing. Everybody's had kids that have wanted to get into the bathroom while you're sitting on the toilet, you know, everybody's got a dog that's watched you when you're having sex. You know, it's just like everybody's got the same stories. It's just that we just have different accents that go with it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the one thing I wanted, I mean, we don't have too much time left, but I just wanted to.
The good ones always go by way too fast.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, one thing that one of your bits, talk about storytellers, one of your legendary bits is the medical marijuana.
Oh,
so I want to know if you still have a stash and if you've come around on it or not. So yes,
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Understood.
Let's just say I'll tell you, this is my answer. I've got a freezer full of Dove bars. So that's your question.
makes total sense. So let's. I got to get this one question in because talk about something completely out of the realm of what you were used to. So Bill makes the finals for Dancing with the Stars. Like,
yes.
On top of all of this other stuff, like now you're not just on it, like you make the finals.
And he was like the fan favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was that experience like, and how much of you still hurts?
Well, I finally have healed. I'll start it by saying I was going to turn it down because my first thought was, God, is this where my career's at now? But my wife, smart as she is, said, I think you ought to do this. And it was 13 million people a week for 20 million people a week for 13 weeks. Now, I will tell you this. The only reason I got to the finals is because I realized what the show was. It's a popularity thing. You know, if they were really critiquing us on our dancing, none of us would have been asked to do it. But you know that I think, this sometimes in life. Well, hang on, I don't. That's Dancing with the Stars. Well, how weird is that?
Oh, we could coming back again.
So sometimes in life you're given these little gifts and you just know what to do with them. I was dancing with Emma Slater, who at the time I think was 22, 23, British bombshell, hot as smoking hot. And we would do these dances, but then I'd run over and kiss my wife. And every woman in America that watched that went, see, he doesn't have any controversy. You know, and I didn't want any controversy. You know, I was like, I just wanted to have some fun. You know, they were always like, I had to have my knee drained 3 times during the 13 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, they were always like, can we film it? Can we go with you and film it? I go, no, you can't. No, I don't want you there. Yeah. And I was driving them crazy because I wouldn't buy into all the BS, you know. I just wanted to have fun, dance in front of 13 million people. And I'll tell you what, I was wrong about that show. When I was on that show and afterwards for a good year or two, when I would get introduced, they would say, now from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, and there'd be a nice applause. And they say, and Dancing with the Stars, and like the auditorium would erupt. Wow. People loved that. And I think part of it, again, goes back to, I don't know why celebrities are afraid to show their human side. You know, it's not a detriment. You know, it's a wonderful thing that you've got, that you've been given. And I just want people to know that if you see me in the mall or you see me wherever, it's the same guy you're seeing on stage. You know, I don't want to have to put on this persona. And that's what I didn't do on Dancing with the Stars. It was an experience I'll never forget. And I'm always grateful to those people for putting me on. I don't know why they decided I was good enough, but yeah, it was really fun. And I still stay in touch. In fact, I'll tell you a funny little kind of put a bow on the whole story. After Em and I got to the finals, about 2 years later, I officiated her and Sasha's wedding.
No way. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, and if they have a child, hopefully they'll let me christen it.
You really are the minister.
Yeah, I'm an actual ordained minister.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to need another piece of paper for the next interview. But, but I want everyone to check out, first of all, check out the Blue Collar Auction. It's on CircleTV, which you can get on Peacock, which is a great service. I have it. So just Peacock TV. But more importantly, the best way to find out everything about Bill and what he's working on is his social media and his website. Go to BillEngvall.com, or thank you for making this so easy. Both his Twitter and his Instagram are just Bill Engvall to make it nice and easy. Because he posts tons of stuff on there. I see you're a golfer from ever in Utah. You can beat my ass in golf because I'm not very good at it, but I've taken it up. And I actually thought maybe that's why he wants to quit. He just wants to play golf.
You know what? I am going to concentrate on becoming a better golfer, but I wish I could tell you. I wish you'd have talked to me before you picked it up. I'd have said, don't. It's the sickest addiction you can have, and you're never going to beat it. But yet we keep playing it.
And I say every time I play, I wind up saying the same thing. The ball's not moving. Like, it's not like a baseball. It's not like you're not trying to hit something in motion. It's just sitting there taunting. Yeah. And like, you know, it's everything. It's all right here, you know. And
one of the greatest lines I heard about golf was I was playing in the Reno Tahoe Celebrity Open, and Charles Barkley was snipping at somebody was at a baseball player, and they said, you golfers got it easy. Baseball player said, you guys got it easy. You just got to hit a ball sitting on a tee. He said, we have to be able to hit a ball going 96 miles an hour and moving at you. And the golfer, without missing a beat, says, yeah, but you don't got to play your foul balls.
so true. So true. But once again, check out everything about Bill. Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Hold on one second.
Guys, this was a real treat. Lori, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Anytime you guys want to do this again, I'll jump, because this is wonderful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So just hang on one second. I just want to wrap this up, and then we'll talk to you when we're done. Once again, check out Blue Collar Auction. You can see it on CircleTV.
And you can bid on these things.
You can bid on it too. One of these days we're going to bid on Bill. And check out, just go to BillEngvall.com and you'll get pretty much everything you need right there. And he does Sunday morning chats and Sunday mornings with Bill, and just always engages with the fans. So I want everybody to go, and thank you for listening to The Hole. I am Rob Sprance.
I'm Lori Levine.